DJ Lil create vibes now.
Welcome to another episode of the Get a Love Like Mine podcast. We are your humble hosts. I'm Keisha Amos. This is my beautiful husband, Sam Amos. We pray that we say something today that is glory to God's name and that leads you closer to Him. We're so grateful for the feedback that we received on this season 2. We thank you guys for listening. So let's go ahead and get into these topics. So, most mornings I will listen to sermons from either my pastor or from T.D. Jakes. Just replays that are on YouTube. And this week I listened to one from T.D. Jakes where he discussed qualities of a leader. And while he was discussing leadership, he said that if you are supposed to be the leader, but that business or that company runs just as well without you as it does with you, then you're not a leader, you're a placeholder. And so I told my husband, I really feel like that applies to relationships as well, especially when we talk about the one. A lot of people have this notion of their one true love or their soulmate or the one person for them. But if that person doesn't make any significant, they don't do anything significant in your life, and your life is the same whether they're there or not, then they're a placeholder. They're not the one. And I just feel like a lot of times people end up missing the one. You can go ahead and speak to the conversation that we had about this.
Well, understand for starters that on this podcast we discuss a lot of topics, relationship, religion. We speak about work and sports and just all type of things. But it really started based on relationships. And so, like this episode about the one is something that it's going to be really, really good. So the good part about this, you don't have to take notes. If you missed something, you can just hit the rewind button and play it back. So we really enjoy helping people relationship-wise if we can. Mm-hmm. So that really is the purpose for a lot of the content that we have. We realize everything is not going to be for everybody. Some people are absolutely fine where they are. But if you're one of those people that feel like maybe I took a wrong turn somewhere, or I'm in a relationship and to me in the back of my head it keeps feeling like I'm here and I'm not supposed to be, or whatever the reason is, then okay, a lot of the stuff that we say today will probably help push you over the edge or validate what you are already thinking. For you to use the term placeholder, that's an awesome way to describe someone that's in a position that they're not giving their peak performance or they can be replaced. Mm-hmm. See, I've been in a relationship, and I'm not gonna call any names, where we were together for multiple years, and once she was gone, there was really nothing that I missed about that person, right? And like, this was a exclusive one-on-one. This wasn't me and just dating around. That's different. But this is not dating around. This is just you and I. Mm-hmm. And once she was gone, I really didn't miss anything about her. So that was a perfect description of a placeholder. Now, flip the script to you and I. Mm-hmm. Like, my life is different just when you leave and go to work. It's almost, I don't want to say it's a panic.
Every day he asks, what time are you
coming back? Yes. I just want to know. So I can prepare myself mentally if it's going to be a long day. Now, if it's going to be a short day, I'm already ready. Let's get it over with.
So silly.
But that's a perfect way to describe someone. If you can be taken out of an equation and no one misses you, then your description is you're a placeholder.
So this conversation came about because we were just talking about, the relationships of people around us. And we started to wonder, are they weird or are we weird? Because their relationship isn't like ours. And we know that a lot of people's relationships aren't like ours. We had a friend, an older guy that worked at the post office with us that talked to us both separately. Like we weren't even dating or anything when he spoke to us about it. But he talked about meeting this one woman who was ultimately the love of his life, and that a lot of people never get the chance to experience that kind of love with that one person. And my husband and I always feel like we are that one person for each other. But, we spoke on this before. There were so many times that we were around each other, like in the same place before we knew each other, that we never met. Like there were several times we probably saw each other because we were in the same places at the same times. But for whatever reason, the timing was always off. And so we were talking and I asked my husband, was there ever a time that you had a connection with a person, like a real connection? You really liked that person and they really liked you, but the timing was off. Like either they were in a relationship or maybe you were in high school and one was about to go off to a college out of state, or for whatever reason you and that person couldn't get together, and the timing being off. And so I think we were talking about this, that we think maybe sometimes you might meet the one, but the timing isn't right, and then you go on to be with whoever and they go on to be with whoever, but that relationship never feels like it's the one. It's more so a placeholder, kind of like you said. It's a relationship where you're one-on-one, but if that person leaves, there's no void. Your life goes on as per usual. And I'm not gonna call anybody out, but I know a lot of people who are in relationships that still have that one person that is like, that if I could have been with that one, then my life would be a whole lot different now. And I just I know it's crazy, like, to think of the timing of it all, or to even think that there's only one person for you, but you just can't deny that connection.
Timing is huge, and it can also be unfortunate. We were fortunate enough, and really the only reason we even bring some of these things up to discuss is because prior to us meeting each other and getting to the point where we are right now, we wouldn't have known this existed, right? We wouldn't have known there was a better quality or higher level of love in a relationship, because up to that point in our life, we both had dated, we both had been married before, and none of that past resembled this. And then so you may try to describe it to your friends or family members or loved ones, or they watch and be like, y'all's relationship looks like, like y'all don't ever argue. Well, we don't. But the thing is, we're trying to get other folks to see there's probably a level of higher love or relationship that exists and you've never experienced it because you think you're at the top already. You think you've already gotten there and you haven't. Just like you mentioned, a lot of folks have a what if. You know, if timing wasn't right, you were married and they were single, and then you got single and they got married, or you became single and they moved away. Whatever it was that kept y'all from being together, and that person stays in the back of your head all the time, like, I really have a soft spot in my heart. I'm not going to tell nobody else about this. I just know that person's in there, and I'm going to forever, for the rest of my life, wonder what would have happened had we ever connected. And a lot of times, that may have been that one person. I have a friend that he's dated a lot. And even he'll admit, hey, I probably found the one years ago, but I was so busy moving from girl to, woman to woman that I brushed her off. And then, so people end up settling and getting a relationship and, I'm too old to start over. And, that's a horrible way to think when, okay, I only live once, right? And I'm just going to go through life on autopilot. Some folks argue and they think that's the norm because they see their neighbors argue, and I saw my parents argue, so there's nothing wrong with us having a fallout and argue. I've seen it, but you don't have to. We're trying to get you to see there's more, there's a higher level, there's a whole nother gear that you haven't even clicked in yet. But if you don't know that gear's there, you'll never hit the clutch and shift into it.
Yeah.
Right?
You could use the analogy of, what was that steak you got that one time, and it was like a really rich steak, but it cost a lot of money. Was it a porterhouse or?
It was something like that where we were at a Del Frisco's or somewhere. It was real thick.
Yeah. Like
it was good, but it wasn't, I didn't think it was worth.
Well, nothing is worth it at Del Frisco's. But my point is, if you always eat chicken nuggets and everyone around you is eating chicken nuggets, and you think you're supposed to eat chicken nuggets because everyone is around you eating chicken nuggets, when you get a steak, when you realize that there is a such thing as a steak, it's an unbelievable feeling. And I think a lot of times people settle for chicken nuggets because that's all that's around them. But we're trying to make you realize there's steak out there. There is that connection that you feel or felt when the timing was off. Like the older guy at the post office told us, sometimes people never find that. That is a type of love or connection that some people never experience in their entire lives. And when you experience it or have the potential to experience it, that is what when we talk about get a love like mine, that is what get a love like mine means. Just that next gear, that next level that a lot of people never even think to go into for whatever reason because their timing was off.
I wanted to comment on what the conversation he and I had.
Okay, go ahead.
And up until that point, many people have given me a lot of advice relationship-wise. Some of it was good, some of it was horrible. But it was so amazing to talk to this guy. Now, he's much older than I was at the time. But when you talk to someone that knows what you know, and you know they have experienced exactly what you can't describe to everybody else. Like, I can try to tell my friends about it. And, they'll be like, yeah, that sounds pretty good.
I have that too. That's what I get a lot. My relationship
right.
is like
that
it's
good too. Yeah, we don't argue or, we're doing good, but it's not the same. And just trying to put it into words, it's not easy. But one of the things he said to me, he would say, okay, when you find that one person, They can complete your sentence. They understand how you move, how you think, why you did what you did. Nothing is ever a mystery to that other person. Just to see them make something strange go on the inside of you, and y'all could have been together for years, and you still see him walk through that door, and it's like a dog wagging his tail. I can't believe this after all these years. This person still excites me that way. That's that one person that everybody can't do that. Mm-hmm. So that was really some of the things he said, and he told me some stuff about raising kids too. That was really good. Mm-hmm. But to describe a relationship on that level, and like you said, there are folks that live their whole life, 70, 80 years, and never find a person that does that for them on the inside. They just accept good enough. Mm-hmm. And sometimes for some people, good enough is good enough. You know, everything is not for everybody. I understand that. Some folks are, hey, I got this guy, he's already paying most of the bills. We don't have to fuss over the money. I'm living in a nice house. I'm driving a car I want. So what if we go on vacation and I'm scrolling through my phone and he's talking to his homeboys? Don't matter to me. I'm on vacation. I'm taking pictures. I'm posting. Everybody see, you know, I'm looking good. I'm living good. I don't have no complaints. But me and this other person, we haven't said two words to each other.
You know, just thinking about that, where you just said, sometimes, like I was saying about the chicken nuggets and everybody around you eating chicken nuggets. When you look at everybody on social media, they make it look as though they are living the life. They have money, they're traveling, they're going on these vacations, they're living in a big house, they're buying new cars. All of that is great. Not hating on that in the least bit. But sometimes that does not mean that that's your person. Sometimes the placeholder just, you know, is doing a good thing as the placeholder. But the type of love that we're speaking of, the type of connection that we're speaking of, doesn't necessarily equate to trips and things like that. When that person is the one, you can be sitting at home in your room
watching the news.
You can be sitting in the bathroom together, just having a conversation, and experience that type of connection where this person knows why you do what you do and why you think the way you think, and it has nothing to do with the image that you portray on social media. Speaking of social media, today I was looking at social media, and Sierra and Russell Wilson, my husband is a big fan of Rusty, as I call him. But well, you wouldn't be able to tell that today.
And AD, it's bad news, man, right here.
But my husband is a big fan of Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson posed the question to men. He asked, would you marry yourself? So I figured I would ask my husband that. What do you think about that question? For a man to ask himself before proposing to a woman.
That's a great question to ask. I'm a huge fan of fixing what's in the mirror. Mm-hmm. I'll say that all the time. Anybody can find faults with everybody else and make a long list what you need to fix. Mm-hmm. But no one is just volunteering to fix what's in the mirror. So that's an awesome question to ask. That's a great place to start, to say, would you marry yourself? Like, that's some serious self-reflection there. Mm-hmm. So if you're just going to be honest and say, okay, me, myself, you want me to answer, would I marry me? Mm-hmm. I definitely would marry me. Boy, I got it going on.
Oh my God.
Yes, I would marry me. My mom raised me right. Not taking that away from my dad, because I grew up in a house with both my parents, and two of the greatest people ever born. They just had to be two. I was just fortunate in that way that's a whole nother podcast. But and I had some of the greatest parents ever born. So I can recall my mom telling me, I'm gonna make you self-sufficient where you don't need a woman to do anything for you. She didn't want that image on me, like I'm living with a woman who already got her own place. No, you need to get your own place. So my mom taught me. I learned how to cook. I do my own laundry. Learn how to clean up. Go get a job. I pay all my bills. There was no stone unturned when it came to how my mom raised me to be self-sufficient. Now she said, now once you learn how to do all these things, then you'll have something to bring to the table. A woman will want to be with you, because you have value now. So I don't, even when raising my sons, there was, we had an incident a few years back where, the little chick she had a car, my son didn't. And she was coming by to visit, doing all the visiting, and they would, sit out in the car in front of the house, whatever. I had a problem with that because of the way I was raised. She was always coming to pick you up. My mom would tell us, look, if you can't find a way to be the man and go pick her up, y'all need to see each other. You need to get your act together, is what she's saying. If you're gonna be a man, be a man. But don't let her be the man and then get mad when she's running the house and giving the orders or doing whatever she does because you didn't step up and be who you were supposed to be. So yes, I would marry myself because of the way I was raised.
Just as a woman, answering that same question, I think that's a good way to look at things. When us as women, like, it's usually us that are the ones who want to get married. It's usually, you're dating somebody, you've been together a few months or a few years, and you feel like marriage is the natural next step. I think that's a wonderful question to ask yourself while you're putting pressure on that man to marry you. Would you marry yourself? Because a lot of times we think highly of ourselves, but we never really are critical of what we do. Like, we think highly of ourselves physically. Like, I know I'm a good looking woman, or I work, or, I take care of myself. I pay my own bills, blah, blah, blah. But it's more to being a wife than those things. Are you considerate? Would you consider your husband being at work all day and think, okay, let me make sure he has a hot meal when he gets home? Or if I'm stopping to pick myself something up, did I pick him something up too? Or, it's a lot more to being a wife than just, being a boss. A lot of women these days, that's the women empowerment. That's the mantra. I'm a boss. I'm a boss babe. I'm a boss chick. But being a wife and a mom requires more than that. And so I think that's a good question to ask yourself while you're thinking, we've been together all these years or all these months, so we should be married by now, or at least he should want to marry me. Ask yourself, would you marry yourself? Not just because you want a wedding, but based on what you bring to the table. Like what my husband said, what are you bringing to the table that makes you a good wife? And of course, the men, what are you bringing to the table? So I think of my own experience, my first husband. I'm almost certain he only got married because of outside people saying, when are y'all going to get married? I don't really think that he wanted to be married. And I definitely only did it because of, I was 25. Everyone was saying, when are you going to get married? When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? when you're going to have a baby, you know, all of those societal things that people think you're supposed to do in your 20s when you really have no business doing any of that in your 20s. But I know that's part of the reason that I got married the first time. And to be honest, I don't think I brought enough to the table as I should have been bringing to the table. Well, you know, of course, I think I had a lot of good qualities, but I'm sure there were things that I lacked that I try to make up for now in my new marriage. So
I think alongside of asking, would you marry yourself, I think especially young couples that are getting to the point where you're tired of dating, because that's why I got married. I got tired of dating. Like, you know, it's the same circle over and over. You experience it. Okay, I'm ready to move on. So another really great question besides would you marry yourself, I think, is to ask and be honest, what do I bring to the table? You know, what qualities do I possess that this person will look at me and feel like I'm irreplaceable? Because to me, relationship wise, that's the ultimate goal, is to be irreplaceable. That way that person is going to always want to be with you. Right? So ask yourself, what qualities do I have that would even make this person not want to be with anybody else, dating or whatever, or marry anybody else, and block everything else out and spend the rest of their life with me. Now, for men, and especially for women, let's get this out of the way. Physical love cannot be one of your attributes, okay? Because women, I don't know not one woman that doesn't have one of those woman parts. They all have them. So what you can do, somebody else can do. Men, same thing. Like what you were born with, hey, every man was born with the same one. So, you know, some are shaped different or whatever.
Oh my goodness.
But the thing is, that can't be one of my, I'm gonna hang my hat on physical love, because that's a whole nother podcast in itself also. That physical love in a relationship should be viewed as the seasoning, not the foundation. That should only make your relationship better, not this is the main attraction. Okay?
Right.
So be prepared, and you know, sometimes you may even want to make a little small list. Okay, we still dealing with what's in the mirror now. Don't focus on, well, what is she bringing to the... No, you're going too far. Start with that first mirror list and figure out what is it about me that would make somebody want to marry me or make somebody not want to marry me.
Something you would always say, I would hear you say to other people, was to make yourself irreplaceable in that person's life. So to piggyback on what you just said, how do you, when you look at yourself and make that list of what you bring to the table, your effort should be to make yourself the one for that person. Make yourself so irreplaceable in that person's life that your absence would
derail.
Yeah, it would derail them, because they just wouldn't even know what to do without you. I hope y'all don't take that out of context, but what I'm trying to say is, for you to be the one and not a placeholder, your absence, your presence has to bring something to my life that no one else could bring.
In that way.
Right. And that your absence would leave me distraught. Your absence would leave me to where I don't, it's going to take me a while to be able to put the pieces back together. So are you the one, or can you make yourself the one? Of which Do you think if someone is a placeholder, that you can make that person be the one?
So, help me understand the question. Am I trying to make you be the one, or
Let's say, okay, I'll just use myself as an example. Even though this is hypothetical. So let's say maybe in my early 30s, I met a guy and we had a very strong connection. Like we, became friends and I learned so much about him, but, he was married and I wasn't, or vice versa, whatever. So he took a job out of town or whatever. So then I move on with my life, and then I find you and I meet you and we're great. But in the back of my mind, there's this guy that, I wonder whatever happened to that guy. He's this connection. I feel like he's the one. To me, I don't think it's fair to say I'm just gonna settle for this person, because I know a lot of people who are in loving relationships, but they might not be the one type of love. So what I'm asking, like, since now I'm with you and we've built a family, can I then make you the one? Can I establish that connection with you that I thought I had with this other person?
hopefully the life that you and I have made together, especially if you said that kids are already involved, right? Mm-hmm. Hopefully there are enough qualities within me that we can take our relationship to the next level. Mm-hmm. Sometimes when you talk about establishing like we just click together, or there's this vibe that you just can't explain it, and that sticks in your head as this person is the one. Well, those things you can't really teach or learn them. Either they're there or they aren't. Mm-hmm. That can make somebody be the one, but it's hard to say, well, it comes to, you may just end up settling if that spark is not there with this person. But that doesn't mean you have to settle. You can still take that relationship to another level, but you have to be all in. I see a lot of men, a lot of my friends or co-workers, whatever you want to call them, that for whatever reason of how they got to where they are, they still have one leg kind of halfway out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So I had one friend who he was married a very long time, and his wife and him ended up divorced, and he got remarried, and he had been with that wife for 8 or 10 years or so, whatever. But he and I talked a lot. He was older than me, so I learned a lot from him. That's why I enjoyed being around him. Just the talking, the things I learned from listening to him. But one thing I would have to get on him about, he always referred to his present wife based on things that his past wife had done. I said, well, dude, you're holding your new wife hostage for things that your first wife did, and you think well, what if she does it? Well, you didn't marry the same woman twice, right? So you can't just assume she may do it. Now, yeah, anybody can do anything at any time. Like, I can get up right now and go get in my car and drive to Canada, and you never see me get it. So we're not going to say, oh, it can't happen. Anything can happen. But it's not fair to that new wife to hold her hostage. You got one leg in and one leg out, instead of giving her all of you, all of your attention, all of the love that you can. You're holding back because really on the inside you're still hurt, and you haven't let that hurt go. So I mean, there's a lot of things. We go back to fixing what's in the mirror that kind of derails relationships that you can fix internally. But if you're gonna be with somebody and that's not who you would have deemed the one because your mind is somewhere else back in the past. But all I'm saying is don't leave one leg in and one leg out thinking, well,
I think that's what a lot of people
absolutely
do.
I see it all the time.
Like, they wanted this person, it didn't work out. Maybe they ended up trying to be in a relationship, but they didn't have the tools they needed, so they ended up getting a divorce for whatever reason, or breaking up for whatever reason. And then they get with this new person, and this new person really has all the qualities, or at least more than the other person did, and they're there. Your timing is right. But so many people, like you said, have one foot in and one foot out, and they're not giving their all. They're not putting 100% into this new relationship, because in the back of their mind, they're still holding out hope for that past relationship, or maybe just holding on to hurt from that past relationship that keeps them from, giving their 100%. That's crazy. I think it's a real possibility to have more than one the one. Like, I think you can definitely turn your placeholder into the one, but I don't think we have enough time to discuss how to do that today. Maybe we'll discuss that on the next episode. But I really do feel like if you're willing to give your all into it, you can definitely have that person become the one, the one right now. As the Amoses, we're going to discuss something I saw on social media. My daughter actually asked me if we had discussed this topic, and we discussed something similar, well, not the actual topic, but it was on, let me see if I can find it. It was on the Shade Room. And I have to go to my DMs. How do you feel about your significant other being friends with your friends? So we're going to discuss that the Amos way, Amos style. I'll go first.
Okay.
Because if we are like a couple that hangs out with other couples, I think you kind of don't have a choice but to establish something. Otherwise, the hanging out is not gonna work. You may do it once or twice and then end that. But if you're hanging out regularly, I would think that it's because you're friends with the couple. But I think what they were referring to in this post is like, you and I are dating, and I have like my 3 best friends, and you have your homeboys, and then I start talking to your homeboys on the phone, following them on social media, commenting on their stories, which go to their DMs, having private conversations, or I say private, it kind of sounds bad, but what I mean is having conversations that you don't know are being had. And I think it's totally inappropriate. Like, I wouldn't, a lot of the dynamic between me and my husband is that I don't do anything to him that I wouldn't want him to do to me. So that situation in particular makes me uncomfortable to think that he's having conversations with my friends that I know nothing about. So that definitely makes me not want to, have those types of conversations with your friends, to where somebody can come back and say, oh, I talked to your girl and she told me such and such, and you talked to her. Like, that's so weird. But what do you think about it?
Pretty much along the same lines. There does need to be like a healthy medium there, but there has to be, in my opinion, there should be a line drawn, especially to keep the confusion down. So we have, like, I have coworkers who, we do things as a couple. We did things for your birthday.
Mm-hmm.
We all went to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you're gonna need to interact, because we've seen where we've done things with couples and one of the other members of the couple didn't say a single word all night. Like, just sat there flipping through the phone like, I'll be glad when this night's over.
Yeah.
So in that incident, you need to be able to interact more.
Mm-hmm.
But calling on the phone, like, I shouldn't have your friends' phone numbers in my phone, right? Like, I don't have no business calling them and asking, what y'all doing tonight? Have you
What
seen?
you doing? Like, can you imagine just picking up the phone saying,
and
what
just
you
sitting
doing?
talking, or even worse, texting.
Why are you even thinking about them?
Yeah, like, okay, that's going too far.
Mm-hmm.
And so that my friends, especially my close friends, have no business going around me to ask you anything. Now, you're a lawyer, right? So you provide a service that my friends may need, right? So in that incident, I don't think it's wrong. I don't see a whole lot wrong with them calling your office if they need you to represent them, or if they even have a legal question. Mm-hmm. Even though there's nothing wrong with them asking me to ask you, because I have a lot of my friends, hey man, ask your wife if mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with that. But some of this other stuff, like, it's gonna breed a whole lot of see, you have to realize in relationships you have to protect the looks like.
Oh yeah.
Huh? Mm-hmm. That's huge. A lot of people don't want to go that far. But do you want your relationship to work or not? I'm just asking. If you do,
if you don't know what he's talking about, we talked about this on a prior episode. It may not be what it is, but it's how it looks to the other person. So if it looks like it, like if I just so happen to look in your phone and I look in your DMs on Instagram and I see my friend commenting on your story, even though she might have just commented on the story, we all know it goes to your direct message. So did she tell me that she discussed this with you, or she commented on your story, or am I seeing this on my own? It's all about what it looks like. And if I saw it on my own without her telling me or you telling me, it's going to look bad. Mm-hmm. It looks bad. It looks like something is going on. Like, what are you two even doing, having private conversations that I know nothing about? I'll give an example because, it's no big deal. For Christmas, my law firm was doing a toy drive. And one of my old co-workers from the post office told my husband at work, I want to donate some toys to your wife's toy drive, and I'm going to bring them so you can take them to her. And he said that was fine, and he came home and told me about it. I never heard from her. She didn't tell me that she told him this. He told me that she told him this. So then when the toy drive was over and it was like the last day, and she was like, oh, is it too late? And I was like, yeah, the deadline, I think this was the next day. I was like, yeah, the deadline was yesterday. And she said, well, I told your husband I was going to give him the toys, but then I didn't see him anymore. And I told my husband, I said, if he hadn't told me that already, and she came and told me that, even though I know it was nothing, like, that would have been an issue for me, because I don't like any woman feeling like she knows something about my husband that I don't know, or that she's having conversations with him about me that I don't know anything about. So it's all about how it looks. And I don't think me being friends with, like, my husband has a friend who he does have my number because he was instrumental in us buying the house that we live in. And so one day, a few months back, he sent me a text and was like, how are you doing? And told me, tell Sam I said hi. And I'm like, but he's your friend. Why are you texting me? Like, text him yourself and tell him you said hi. Like, why would you even put me in the middle of that? Like, you're his friend, not my friend. But anyway, these are the types of things that it just doesn't look right. So I definitely think having being friends with your significant other's friends. It's one thing to be cordial. It's something different to, develop your own friendship with them.
Right. So, you need to find that medium as far as you and your significant other. Now, she may be one of those people that sees nothing wrong with that. Hey, well, that's y'all.
And it may be the timing. Like, if your friend, let's say I knew your friend before I knew you, that's different. That is, I might have, been homeboy and homegirl with this guy, and he introduced me to you. That's different. Or I just knew him before I knew you, and now you guys are friends or whatever. Though that's a different situation. But I think what we're speaking on specifically is I didn't even know your friends until I met you. To me, that's weird to then become friends with that person. But like I said, if you guys were friends first, of course that's different. But even with that, you still got to make sure of what it looks like. You got to be wary of the looks like. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. If you have a question that you want read and answered on the podcast, like I said, go to our social media, click that Linktree link, and it'll take you right to Ask the Amoses, and you can send your email. But if you want to email us directly, we're at getalovelinemindepodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you're following us on social media at Get a Love Like Mine Podcast. And we thank you guys for listening. Happy Sunday.